It is a sunny afternoon here in the Rizal Memorial Football Stadium. Welcome everybody back to yet another PFL weekend. We're about to have match number 36 of this season. As usual, our Saturday will include three exciting games for everyone to enjoy. The first is this one, Taguig FC against Valenzuela PB Mendiola. Later at 5:45, we have another big game between Maharlika FC and Cebu. And then to close the night, another big game, too. It's going to be Stallion Laguna FC against Aguilas Yumac FC as we see the humidity and the heat right now. But do stay safe as well because of the upcoming typhoon. Do make sure also to enjoy these games. It is the last PFL weekend before another international break where the Philippines will travel away to Maldives in search of another boost in their Asian Cup qualifier campaign. But back to the PFL, my name is Diego Javier Cordero, and I'll be calling this first game. And alongside myself is former UP women's football team player Alex Lagman, providing analysis for us today. Alex, how are you doing this afternoon?
Hi, I'm doing fine, and I am pretty excited because, as you mentioned, this is the last games before the PFL weekend, the break. So I can't wait to see how these two matches and how these two teams would translate.
Starting off with Taguig FC, they've been on a roll ever since their sole loss to Manila Digger. They are coming off a really good victory against Maharlika, and before that, they even beat Kaya 1-0. So they're coming off a really good run and their form is really good. They're second in the table, but they've also played a game less than Kaya. So if they win today, they would actually be even on points as we see their schedule so far this season. They're only one loss to Manila Digger, but other than that, it's been pretty good, no, Alex?
Yes, it is. And to think the top of the table, they've beat them by 1-0 does say a lot. And given how they're going to perform in this game, it can really give them that pedestal in the table.
Yeah, that's right. So if they do win today, as I mentioned earlier, they're going to go joint at the top of the table. They'll be even on points with Kaya, and Kaya will only be ahead on goal difference. That's how tight it's going to be because you see how good their form has been. And you also see their next run of games. It's quite favorable for a team like Taguig because they've played most of the other big six rivals. As we see the starting 11, it's a 4-2-3-1 from Coach Scott Cooper this afternoon. A slightly rotated side. There's no Daisuke Sato and no Patrick Reichelt, but there's still a lot of quality in this Taguig FC lineup.
Yes, of course. And we have to give it to one of the most consistent players here in Taguig. As we've mentioned, si Hartman, talagang yung pinapakita niya up top, the chances he gives to those attackers, it really gives them that opportunity to have those goals for them.
4 assists this season, and overall in his career in the top flight of Philippine football, he's had 72 appearances, 42 goals, and 33 assists, with 4 coming this season. He also has 46 appearances in the Thai League, and he's played all over the world as well. He will definitely be the player to watch if you are Valenzuela PB Mendiola. But before we move on any further, let's hear from the coaching staff of Taguig.
And match again Taguig versus Taguig, so we just do the...
Well, I mean, every team has to be respected. We've seen Mendiola, they can be physical, they can fight. So we have to be disciplined in what we do. We have to build on the last couple of performances as a chance to take 3 points and, push to go closer to the top of the table. For us, it's really about consistency of football now and adding layers to the game.
Well, there you have it, Coach Scott Cooper, paying a lot of respect to Valenzuela PB Mendiola. And that's what you want to see from a big team taking on a team that they are expected to beat, that they still give them that type of respect.
Yes, not to mention their goalkeeper, Cupic. He is one of the top clean sheets with 3 to his name. So let's see how he'll perform in this game.
Yeah, the defense of Taguig has been really good so far. It's up to Valenzuela PB Mendiola to maybe puncture this defense of Taguig that has been so good so far this season. Now moving on actually to Valenzuela PB Mendiola, only on 3 points so far this season. They've only had 1 win, and that came against rock bottom Philippine Army. So they're 10th in the table. They're coming off a 7-0 loss to Maharlika the last time they played, and they missed a penalty in that match to make it 1-1. Their last win came in match day 2. Alex, for a team like Mendiola who's in a little bit of a slump, what can they do to get out of this rut that they're currently in?
Well, given on paper, they are seemingly struggling when it comes to their attacks, but there were a lot of opportunities up top, especially when it comes to the combination plays of Takardon and Doctora, especially inside that penalty area. If they can bank on that, surely they can add up to their goals.
That's right. They have created chances. They just haven't taken as much of them.
Consistency.
Exactly. You did see they scored twice against Manila Digger, which is not a bad thing to do. Then they scored once against Don Bosco Garelli, but they still lost. I believe you actually commentated over that game, but they kept it close and they could have taken that match on another day. But so far, their form this season hasn't been all that good. It's up to them now to pick themselves up from that poor form. As we see their starting 11 here, it's a 3-2-4-1 formation. The usual suspects are starting. You see the likes of Doctora, as Alex mentioned. Johan Fofana comes back in. But we also want to highlight a certain Isaac Ano who will play as the team's striker this afternoon. What is his duty today as the team's striker? And is it harder for him to make an impact today because he's going to be up against a team that likes to keep the ball, and perhaps Valenzuela PB Mendiola won't have as much possession?
Well, definitely one Taguig will be giving Valenzuela, PB Mendiola FC a really hard time. So it's really about Isaac Ano having to get those passes and get those move off the ball movements so as to make those opportunities for them.
Yeah, definitely going to be a tough test today for the likes of Isaac Ano, Doctora. But you do say they are talented players, so there is definitely something for them to get from this match, or in every match in the PFL rather. They have already threatened on occasion. They just haven't taken the consistency when it comes to their chances. Now, before we move on, let's actually get to hear from the coaching staff now of Valenzuela PB Mendiola.
And match again, one Taguig versus one Taguig. So we just do what we have in training. We gave 120%. We work hard to win this game.
Well, there you have it from the coach of Valenzuela PB Mendiola. Kept it short and sweet, but it's up to them now to pick themselves up and to get up and running. Again, they already got that first win, but since then it's been consistent losses. When they did get close to picking up another point, it was the Don Bosco match, which you commentated on, I believe, Alex. What can they bring over from that match that can actually help them further on in the season?
Well, given their stats right now, I think the best mindset for them to adopt is to take things one game at a time and really trusting each other and their teammates up top, learning how to transition from the defense towards their attacking third.
Yeah, definitely. And as you mentioned, their stats not that promising when you look at them. Actually, this calendar year in 2025, they've played 17 games, but they've only won 2 of those games and drawn once. The other 14 have been losses. And from a total of that, it's only been 7 points for the whole of 2025 and a minus goal difference of minus 71. But might as well end the year strongly if you're Valenzuela PB Mendiola. And today would be a good way to make a statement and to show actually that they do belong in the PFL. Now, for Valenzuela PB Mendiola, what's the mindset going into a game like this where you know that you're not the favorite for this one?
I think when it comes to these kinds of games, the more that you have to embrace it, because that hate or not that favorite mindset just shows that, hey, you can be the favorite. So that contrast really can be used as a fuel to perform better.
Well, there you have it. Thank you for the analysis, Alex. We'll be back shortly for the margin. moments away now from kickoff. The two captains are going to have the coin toss. It's actually Balut Doctora and Mark Hartman as the two captains. Definitely two players to watch out for. Two players have actually played on the same pitch for the same team at one point when it was the Philippines. That was about a decade ago, but did happen, and these two players are familiar with each other. Let's see which captain is the more happier of the two after this one. But before we get started, there will actually be a minute's silence. So we do wish all the victims of the recent typhoon in Cebu safety, and we also want to wish everyone safety for the upcoming typhoon. So do stay safe and dry, and we will have a moment's silence.
May we request everyone to please stand and observe a moment of silence for Cebu and everyone affected in the Visayas region by the recent typhoon. And in memory of former football player Captain Pony Dubagan and his colleagues from the Philippine Air Force who tragically lost their lives in the Tila Superman helicopter crash in Cebu. Let us offer this moment of silence to honor their memory and the strength of all those affected.
It will be Valenzuela, PB Mendiola in their all maroon jerseys. Looks like they'll be kicking from left to right, and going the other way are One Taguig in their purple jerseys and white shorts going the other way. I must say the One Taguig jersey is quite a nice jersey, if I don't say so myself.
I'd have to agree with you on that. And banking on what you just said of Hartman and Doctora being teammates, there are lots of pros and cons when it comes to that. Of course, the pros is they do know how each other plays, but given this situation, they can use that against each other. So let's see how these two captains, these two teams will lead given the information that they do have.
Yeah, and Balut Doctor actually has been teammates with a lot of the One Taguig players. So I did mention he has appearances for the Philippine men's national team. Specifically, he has 10. And he has one goal. In that one goal, it came in a 3-0 friendly that the Philippines won. Also playing that day were Daisuke Sato, Patrick Reichelt, Mark Hartman, as I mentioned before, and Edsa Capaño, who's also with One Taguig now as the goalkeeping coach. So it's a very small world in Filipino football, but they are all here today for this match as kickoff is here, and it's One Taguig to start things off. Alex, if you're Valenzuela, PB Mendiola, what is the mindset for the first 5 minutes at least? Because we're going to see a lot of this possession with One Taguig.
With what we're seeing right now, their formation, I would want to stay compact, see how One Taguig would penetrate, so that we can stay compact and keep the goal 0-0, especially the first few minutes of the game.
Well, there's a player down already, just 30 seconds in. It's actually Isaac Ano, who is not a player Valenzuela, PB Mendiola want to lose this early on. But it's quite interesting also that just after a few seconds, we already see Mark Hartman controlling the game. Again, Mark Hartman is one of those players that can just dictate a football match on his own with his passing range and ball striking. Anyway, Isaac Ano is back up on his feet.
And if we know anything about One Taguig, their high press really is deadly, really forcing the backline to make those errors. So that's really something that Valenzuela, PB Mendiola should watch out for.
Yeah, definitely. One Taguig are going to take the game to their opponents. Here's Hiraishi early on, goes for the cross, looking for Casemiro, but the fellow Brazilian in Gustavo is the one who clears it. His ball still bouncing around there, bit messy, but it finally falls to Valenzuela, PB Mendiola, and they escape momentarily. But with that pass forward, it does not find Isaac Ano, and it's back to one Taguig. A lot of possession for the Taguig-based squad early on. And we also see Aldeguer, who's usually a striker, playing as a winger. And once again, it's Hartman with the ball. And he just does that so easily, those type of clip passes. Definitely something to be careful of if you're Mendiola. Here's Oli Bias, down the left. Goes for the cross. Will it fall to a Taguig player? Nearly did before the clearance. But dangerous moments early on for Valenzuela, PB Mendiola. Don't even think actually that Mendiola have touched the ball on the opposite half. It's been all one Taguig controlling the game.
That would be true, and time after time they keep attacking, but so far Valenzuela, PB Mendiola, they are able to hold their ground, keep it compact, and clearance still is on point so far.
Here's a Giemang with time and space, and the free header was just wide. He had no one near him, to be honest. And Etheridge, the goalkeeper, must be grateful that it wasn't on target, because that was a really good chance for Isaac Agiemang.
But this should be a wake-up call for Etheridge to call on his defense to really get those man markings so as to eliminate their chances.
Yeah, definitely. There are a lot of quality players in this one Taguig lineup, so you can't leave anyone open. Otherwise, it's dangerous. Valenzuela, PB Mendiola, with the throw-in, might be a chance for them to advance up the pitch because they have not really attacked or tested the backline so far of one Taguig. Stolen by Hartman. Here's a Giemang. Hartman once again. The switch is on for Aldeguer.
Opportunity for one Taguig. Great opening towards that right side of the pitch.
Unfortunately for one Taguig, Aldeguer couldn't really control that. But what about that pass from Mark Hartman to find the space? It's going to come back to one Taguig once again. So Oma. Hartman. Still Hartman goes to Aldeguer. Has a man outside. Will the cross come in? Cross comes first time. It's straight to Etheridge, and a collision between Casemiro and Etheridge. And I think for a moment there, the ball could have gone anywhere. In the end, it's going to be a corner kick to one Taguig FC. But a lot of pressure in these early minutes from one Taguig. Is this what you expected from a team like one Taguig, Alex?
Yes, for sure. And also props to how they maximize the width of the field. Very great distribution.
Hartman with the delivery in towards Aldeguer, but it's cleared straight to a one Taguig player though. So it's going to come back in once again. Hartman with another cross. This one a bit lower than the previous one. But the pressure is non-stop, and it's back to one Taguig once again. I think Coach Scott Cooper will be really happy with the way his team has started. Hiraishi, Akoto, who scored against Kaya, Bias, Hartman. They're just finding each other so easily. Hartman looking for Casemiro. Once again, it's Gustavo with the clearance. Two Brazilians going at it. Hartman. Again, the diagonal is on. Hiraishi, good first touch. It's cleared. But once again, straight to a one Taguig player. It's non-stop from one Taguig. Agiemang with space. Looks for Hiraishi. It's going to drop to Hiraishi. And it goes just wide. I think it was a save by Etheridge. And that's why a corner kick has been awarded. They're getting close, one Taguig.
They are. At yung tapik ni Etheridge, actually that is still pretty dangerous. Because if another player was there, a simple follow-up could have been another story for them.
It just went wide of the post, but it could have gone anywhere. And any lingering one Taguig player could have tapped it in. It's going to come back into the penalty box from Mark Hartman with the outswinger. Sent into the danger zone. It's Akoto who got the first contact. That was their same combination that got their lone goal against Kaya. This time, Akoto unable to get it in. Again, if you're Mendiola, you might be a little bit rattled with the pressure being applied. What is their next step? And how can they relieve some of this pressure?
I think it's about getting possession of that ball and being able to take care of it. Right now, they keep fighting for that ball and it ends up towards their opposition. Not only is Taguig getting those opportunities, but as we can see, it's causing Valenzuela, PB Mendiola fatigue if they keep going on like this.
Oh, here's Casemiro through on goal. It goes just over. But yet again, that all came from a Mendiola giveaway. So they're not helping themselves. And with nice sportsmanship there between the two players who collided. Here's the chance. Hartman, good first touch, straight into Casemiro, who nearly gets his shot on target, but in the end, it's just skied.
There was some pressure from Valenzuela, PB Mendiola, FC, but it is a given when it comes to defense. Automatically, when one man gets eliminated, there should be that support.
Yeah, definitely. And they're being tested heavily. Here's Balut Doctora going the other way. Haven't had much going forward. Valenzuela, PB Mendiola. Can they invent something here? Nearly given away, but it's kept just slightly. And is that a foul? It is. So finally, Valenzuela, PB Mendiola can send something into the Taguig box.
Let's hope that Valenzuela, PB Mendiola are able to maintain this, create those plays inside the half of Taguig.
It's going to be number 16, Christian Lapas, to take the set piece. And an interesting fact about Christian Lapas is that he's actually played the most minutes for his team with 540 minutes so far this season. He's going to send in the cross. It's a good cross met by Casemiro, but that was a good cross. In the end, it's with Hartman.
I'd have to agree, great height and great direction of that ball. But really, judging from the forwards of Valenzuela, PB Mendiola, and the defense of Taguig, that advantage is with Taguig.
You see the sun starting to come up. Might be a bit of a problem also if you have the sunlight in your eyes and you're a defender, or most especially if you're a goalkeeper. Let's see if that affects the play here today. In your playing this, do you ever have to cover your eyes from the sunlight, Alex?
Yes, for sure. And squinting, it is really a disadvantage, but it all can be solved with proper checking and awareness of your space.
Yeah, definitely not an easy thing to do, to play under this type of sunlight and heat. Here's Valenzuela, PB Mendiola going forward. And in fairness to Taguig, they have gotten back well in numbers. You saw there, it was 2-on-1. And the numbers game paving out. Just seeing a comment here that Jackson Etheridge, he is named Etheridge, but he is not Neil Etheridge, as someone I see in the comments may have been confused. But anyway, he has been the busier of the two goalkeepers so far, and possession is once again with Taguig.
And speaking of the weather, another factor that people should also consider is the jersey color. As you can see, Etheridge, he is wearing a neon jersey, and for some people, that does hurt their eyes. So it can be like a minor factor, but in a way, it also does affect the playing style of some forwards.
Yeah, definitely challenging to play in this type of conditions. It is really hot at the moment. And I think when you play on a turf pitch, it makes it even hotter because it is rubber, so the heat does reflect on the ground. So
Yes, and
those of you who play will know.
that's correct. And sometimes there's no way of solving it, because if you do put some water on your cleats, it gets hotter even faster. So sometimes it's really about just dealing with it and keep your feet moving so as to not absorb that much heat if you were just standing still.
There's a half chance there for Isaac Gemang. He was combining once again with Casemiro. Again, those two forwards, very tall, but also very technically gifted. Definitely have to keep a close eye on them if you're the other defense. Casemiro, in fact, is coming off a good weekend. He did score last week against Maharlika, scored the game's lone goal, and was rewarded with the Man of the Match award, which is the reason why he has probably been given the start this afternoon. Again, no Daisuke Sato and no Patrick Reichelt, but it's a chance for others to show why they deserve to also be in the starting lineup. It's actually Oli Bias being put at left back, which is quite interesting, but definitely a good player nonetheless, despite the position change. Here is Hartman once again. Faked out the early cross. Montague not rushing things. Here's Aldeguer. Forced to go backward for now. Akoto. Good switch to Oli Bias in an advanced position from left back. Bias. Hiraishi. A lot of space for Hiraishi, and he goes for the shot. Good save by Etheridge. And Etheridge is going to look for Isaac Ano right away. But that's good defending from Valenzuela. You saw there, Alex, the challenge that Isaac Ano has on his hands. He's going to have to make a lot of ground up and try to collect those loose passes. Definitely a tough challenge, but before that, here's Oli Bias dribbling into the box. Bias straight into Etheridge's arms. Etheridge really busy these past few minutes.
Taguig able to bring it inside the penalty area, but it's really that accuracy and that finishing that still makes it 0-0 as of the moment in this first half.
Yeah, for sure. Had they been more clinical, very possible that it would have been 1-0 by now. Here's Aldeguer in behind his defender, running in to the byline. Aldeguer with the cross. It meets Hiraishi. It is cleared off the line. Well, Valenzuela, PB Mendiola escape once again. Here's Bias. Casemiro. Pressure mounting from Taguig. Hartman, this time with the left foot. He's gonna find Hiraishi. Goes for the cross. Aldeguer. The touch just a bit too heavy. And eventually it's worked clear. Well, Valenzuela, PB Mendiola have had all the warning signs.
And this is something that they would want to learn from Taguig, that discipline in sticking to your man, especially if you're inside that penalty area. A lot of loose forwards had that space, and with just the right touch, it would have been a 1-0 for Taguig already.
Here's Bias with acres of space. He's gonna go for the early cross straight into a defender. But again, it just seems to be that there's so much space for these Taguig attackers and even wingers slash defenders who are going up the pitch. Again, Hartman just seems to find passes out of nowhere.
As you can see right now, the attack has been going and very much consistent. If Valenzuela, PB Mendiola want a stop at this, they'd have to change the momentum, slow it down a bit to give themselves an advantage.
Once again, it's a high press from Taguig and they win it back. Here's Agiemang. Aoki. Back to Hartman. Goes for the early cross. Does it find Casemiro? It does, but it goes just wide. Again, a lot of chances for the front line of Taguig. You do say that if you're Valenzuela, PB Mendiola, sooner or later, if they keep giving away these chances, one of them will be taken. Actually, it looks like because of the heat, a water break is gonna be called. If you're Valenzuela, PB Mendiola's coaching staff, what is the message to your team at the moment? Because they've been under so much pressure and they're really lucky, actually, that it's not 1-0 yet.
To reiterate, it's really their position when they don't have the ball, being able to check those blind spots. So as soon as even one attacker from Taguig tries to position themselves in such a way where they can take that shot, agad-agad may nakatakip na Valenzuela, PB Mendiola na defender. It's really about prioritizing your defense first so that you can transition to the attack.
Yeah, it's been two very different afternoons so far for the two goalkeepers. Etheridge having to make a lot of saves, and I don't think Milos Kupic has touched the ball yet. That's how busy the front line of Taguig has been and how busy the defense of Valenzuela, PB Mendiola has been. For Taguig, I'm sure the message is more of the same, please.
While for Kupic, it is possible for him to maintain that clean sheet, perhaps adding on to that in this game.
Yeah, Kupic joint second for clean sheets in the league. He's joint with Cebu's goalkeeper, Jeridi. Of course, the number one currently is Kaya's goalkeeper, Alfredo Cortez, with 5. Kupic and Jeridi have 3. But definitely, good for a goalkeeper anytime that they get a clean sheet, because it just gives yourself and the defense in front of you that little bit more confidence, I'd say, going into next matches.
But also that added pressure to maintain that.
It's going to be a goal kick from Jackson Etheridge, opting not to play out because of the high pressure from Taguig. Again, if you're just joining us, 16 minutes in, it's goalless so far, but a lot of chances to Taguig. And again, I'm your commentator, Diego Javier Cordero, and joining me for this one is Alex Lagman with the analysis. Here's Aldeguer. A lot of space for Aldeguer. Ventures into the box. Eventually, the last touch was just a bit too heavy, and Gustavo works it clear. Here's Hartman. Passes it into Aldeguer. Eventually, the defense just too tight. Bias now back on the right. Still Bias. And still works the cross. Eventually cleared out. But they're really being tested at the moment. Hartman opting to keep it in. Here's Aldeguer. It's non-stop this from Taguig.
But they decide to reset. Passing it towards the sidelines. But again, another attack.
Another attack fizzles out for Taguig. Can they, or can Mendiola rather, build up? They have the chance to do so here. Here's Doctora. Finds a teammate. Can they finally test Kupic in the end? Taguig get back in numbers, and I think that attack is just going to fizzle out. And Taguig can restart. Again, it looks like Olibias has switched positions from left back. Now, the team's designated right back, which is where we are used to seeing him. He has played there many times already this season. Actually, usually a winger, but good enough to play as a wing back. Here's a chance once again for Taguig. Cross. It's a bit weak. Actually, there was an offside flag before any of that. So once again, Valenzuela, PB Mendiola relieve the pressure. But the pressure has been intense so far.
But I do have to say, Diego, a winger becoming a wing back does make sense, because in modern football, it is a given that each position has become a combination of both defense and attack. And given your experience with being a winger, the stamina that you have running up and down, malaki yung advantage na mabibigay mo pag naging wing back ka.
Yeah, we see how important Olibias is to Taguig, because he has the most minutes for Taguig. Not Sato or Reichel, but it's actually Olibias with, I believe, 509 minutes across the whole squad. So that's how important he is to the squad. Here's Agiemang. Peeling wide, goes for the cross, looking for Casemiro. Once again, it's Gustavo with the clearance. It's becoming a personal duel between the two Brazilians.
And it's a reoccurring pattern too. As soon as Gustavo clears that ball, first to the ball would be a Taguig player, and on goes the attack of Taguig.
Cross from Agiemang. Bit too heavy. Ano having to do defensive work. Looks like Ano will actually be playing as a winger, but defensively like a wing back, which is not where we expected him to play, but he has been entrusted with that role today. Hartman once again. Passing between the lines to Agiemang, looking for Casemiro. Miscommunication there, and more miscommunication between the Valenzuela PB Mendiola backline, but Etheridge just bailing out his defenders. If you are in a maroon shirt, though, you might be concerned at how easily Taguig get those second balls after the clearances. Here's Bias. Cross, looking for Aldeguer. Is this the opener? It is! Andres Aldeguer, 20 minutes in with the flicked header. And it beats Jackson Etheridge. 1-0 to Taguig, and I must say, it has been coming so far in these opening 20 minutes.
I'd have to agree, Diego. And with that cross and that perfect timed jump from Aldeguer, that became the opener for Taguig.
Really good cross from Olibias. And you were talking about it. wingers who are playing as a wing back, they give so much to their team, and there it was from Olivias. Here's Agiemang. Another chance for one to gig the pass just slightly behind Casemiro, but for Valenzuela, PB Mendiola, what is the message now? Because all of a sudden, if you're gonna stay defensive, it might hinder your game a little bit because you're already down behind 1-0.
I think coming into this game, it really is a mental challenge for them, being the not favored team on paper and also being down by 1-0. It's really about learning how to keep your chin up and sticking to your system as a team, because there's really nothing else that you can do.
Chance for Valenzuela, PB Mendiola to go forward maybe. Oh, good tackle from Agiemang, and it's once again with Hartman. Hartman going unchallenged, finds the goal scorer, Aldeguer, finds Agiemang and Hiraishi, and it's 2-0. And in 2 minutes, the scoreline has been doubled. And you must say, it has been coming for the past 20 minutes or so. And it's Hiraishi to make it 2-0. Aldeguer, more good work from the young forward. As we see the quad vision replay, Agiemang actually mishit it, but it fell kindly to Hiraishi. Good finish from Hiraishi.
Goal for Wante FC by player number 88, Naoto Hiraishi.
And just as you were saying that it's up to Valenzuela, PB Mendiola to keep their chin up, the scoreline has doubled in favor of Taguig. At 1-0, it was still close, but at this point,
There's a bit of cushion, but just how everyone says it, bilog ang bola. A lot of things can happen still. But with that, they'd have to secure that penalty area, first of all.
oh, it's Casemiro with the ball in the penalty area. So Oma, straight to Gustavo, and it's finally cleared, but nearly becoming 3 there. You'd imagine that at 2-0, it's a mountain to climb, but at 3-0, that would end the ball game completely.
And this is a misconception when it comes to defending. If you're done with your man, then you're good. But this is a team effort. After defending your man, you have to step up and be able to support and help when it comes to the double team, the triple team. And a lot of players should take into account that they do have to be disciplined and do that dirty work to ensure the safety of your backline.
Another chance from Agiemang, or was it Akoto rather? Really good delivery from Mark Hartman, which is what we usually expect from him. That's how good his set piece crossing usually is. But again, it's a Taguig player first to the ball in the penalty area. Wethridge taking a gamble there. The high press still being enacted by Taguig. Valenzuela, PB Mendiola trying to go long, but even then, it's still Taguig who are first to the ball.
But you do have to mention, given the standings, the bottom versus the top, they were able to contain Taguig for at least the half of that first half.
Yeah, that's right. For 20 minutes, it was 0-0. Chances were going to Taguig, but it might be a little bit disappointing that after holding on, they conceded 2 so easily. Can they do something going forward here? Taguig slightly lacking in numbers here, although the numbers are getting back quickly. Chance maybe. It's going to be a corner. Good defending. I believe that's for Suelo. If you're Valenzuela, PB Mendiola, you have to take advantage of these set pieces because you're not going to get a lot of them. When you're in this type of scenario, is it, in your opinion, is it right for Valenzuela, PB Mendiola to send so many bodies forward because they do leave space in behind?
I think when it comes to this corner, they'd have to go all out in their attack.
Fortunately for them, though, Kupic easily gathers that, and I think this is the first time actually in the match that he's touching the ball. From what I can remember, that was an easy claim actually for the Serbian. And Kupic is now well on his way to becoming or to getting 4 clean sheets.
But I'd have to say in that situation, it would have been better if they went for that grounder.
Oh, Hiraishi! Just wide. Could have been 3. And Hiraishi is getting a lot of time and space in the penalty box. You'd imagine that if you're Valenzuela PV Mendiola, you would have stopped it after the first time. But I think that's the 3rd or 4th time that's happened with him specifically.
Given that second goal, Diego, it was a mistouch from that first forward, and then it went to Hiraishi, and then he scored. That's a lot of time in which the defenders of Valenzuela PB Mendiola could have stepped up and checked that winger. So this is something that they can address, and hopefully they're able to adjust accordingly in this first half.
There's a player down here for Valenzuela PB Mendiola. I think it's Johan Fofana. He is going to go back up on his feet, so he'll be fit to continue. But anyway, if you're Valenzuela PB Mendiola, it is a bit discouraging to see also that after having to play Taguig, who are one of the teams that are going to chase the title, their next game is against Aguilas and Cebu after that. So it's a very daunting list of fixtures for the rest of round 1 if you're Valenzuela PB Mendiola. So you do wonder where the source of points will come from if they are to come.
That's true, and as you see on your screens, Captain Balut Doctora was actually asking for the ball for a direct.
Oh, here's Aldeguer with time and space once again for his second goal. He gets it into the near post, and just like that, it's 3-0. Aldeguer making it look easy, to be completely honest. But just under 30 minutes, and it's now 3-0 to Taguig FC, and they are really opening the floodgates here in match number 36 of the PFL. It was Agiemang with a really good pass first time, and Aldeguer just lashes in to the near post.
And it's a very simple pass. He sees his teammate down towards the flank, passes it to Aldeguer, and takes that shot towards the back of the net. Something else that Valenzuela PB Mendiola could have done is their body positioning, really closing the angle of Aldeguer to eliminate that chance.
Well, they are playing with a 5 at the back system, but weirdly enough, it's their defensive third where there's so much space being afforded, and stuff like this won't help because from the last set piece, a chance was created. They give away another one. And once again, it's going to be Mark Hartman to take the set piece, and when Mark Hartman takes a set piece, he usually finds his target. Hartman with the delivery. It's into the danger zone. Akoto! And it's now 4-0. And it's that combination again that worked against Kaya to make it 4-0. Mark Hartman with the spot on delivery, and that signals the water break. And after the first water break, it was 1-0. It's now the second water break, and it's 4-0. Here's the quad vision replay. Akoto was unchallenged. There was no one near him. And from that distance, he's not going to miss from there. Etheridge, he can't really do anything about that. And it's now 4-0. Relentless stuff.
He was unchallenged, but that situation was unfamiliar for Valenzuela. It was a pretty familiar situation because that's how Taguig scored previous goals. Hopefully in this water break, they can discuss the formations and simply just challenging the forwards that are inside one of the most dangerous spots on the pitch, which is the goal.
Taguig now well on their way to picking up 3 points, must be said, despite the fact that it's only been 30 minutes. If they do win today, Taguig I'm talking about, it would actually be their 25th win in their whole life in the PFL. Again, they joined the PFL after their conception in 2024. Then they played the season after, and this season is their 3rd season in the top flight. So today, should they keep the winning scoreline. It would be their 25th win as a club overall. Still a very young club, but already competing for the championship this early on this season. If you're Valenzuela PB Mendiola naman, does it become a little bit of a different game now? Maybe damage control rather than anything else.
Well, I think the priority should be damage control. But based on the reaction of the captain of Valenzuela PB Mendiola, he has been asking for that ball. He has been asking for that direct. So even if we are down by 3-0, the hunger should still be there. And it's really about getting those accurate passes of those direct balls given by their backline.
So Oma combining with Casemiro, look like handball. And as you were mentioning, Balut Doctora, the captain of Valenzuela PB Mendiola, he has been asking for it. He's been asking for service, which unfortunately for him hasn't come. But you do have to give him service because that type of player can take chances. Again, Doctora, he is aging quite a little bit. He is 39 now, but definitely still has the know-how in terms of going forward. Here he is now. Can he do something for his team?
Now, speaking of, he positioned himself well, and now he received, making an opportunity for the forwards of Valenzuela. But it is a team sport. It's really about opening up, looking for those triangles, those squares, so as to execute those plays.
Here's Isaac Ano, now the left. Another position change, but it's Olibias who stood firm. And One Taguig are going to start an attack. And here's Casemiro in behind, up against his compatriot in Gustavo.
And you'd have to note Hiraishi is there at the blind spot. Ang sakit ng Valenzuela, looking at that player, but right now it is in their possession.
Casemiro. Agyemang with so much space. Agyemang! And it bounced off the post into the goalkeeper. Etheridge really fortunate that it's not 5-0, but Agyemang really unlucky there actually not to get a goal because it hit the post and off the goalkeeper. But you were mentioning it once again. There's so much space for the One Taguig front line. Valenzuela PB Mendiola going the other way.
And Valenzuela, if they do want to have those attacks, they really have to take care of that possession. Makakatulong din yun sa kanila given the weather. They get control of the play.
Gustavo on the ball. Looking for Doctora. He finds it. But the touch just slightly loose and it's back once again to One Taguig. But Doctora has been making those runs. It's a matter of finding him if you're his teammates. Valenzuela PB Mendiola going out wide. Doctora drifting off.
You have to mention lots of blue bodies there. That's a testament towards the defensive discipline One Taguig has.
And definitely defensive discipline that is much greater than their opponents at the moment, because when One Taguig launch attacks, they find space, but when Valenzuela PB Mendiola launch attacks, there's barely any space. So that's how good One Taguig have also been in their defensive third. Here's Aldeguer. Once again, a lot of space for Aldeguer. Casemiro. Aldeguer, no offside. Aldeguer straight into Etheridge, but I think in that moment he just had a little bit too much time. Perhaps he overthought that chance, but once again, a lot of space in the Valenzuela PB backline. It's going to be Hartman to take another set piece. We know what happened from the last one. when you're a defender and you just conceded a set piece, what is the message going into the next one?
You'd have to be so aggressive with that challenge. Of course, take that with a grain of salt because you have to be aware of your fouls. But you should be first to the ball every time.
And as you were saying that they should actually be first to the ball every time, once again, it was Casemiro first to the ball. And any header goalward probably would have gone in. But it goes wide for a goal kick. And there's actually a player down for Valenzuela PB Mendiola. And it's getting from bad to worse if they're going to lose their defender in Gustavo, who they have conceded 4 goals. But Gustavo has been solid from time to time, thwarting the attacks of Juan Taguig.
But even given the scoreline, they do have a bunch of very talented forwards. And it's not because of incapability. It's about learning how to maximize their strengths. And it boils down to giving that accurate pass when it comes to the direct showing up there at the attacking third. It is those simple factors that they'd have to consider to at least get those attacks for themselves.
Again, when Juan Taguig do have the ball, you must also say their backline is quite unchallenged. You can just keep the ball for a long period of possession. Like here's Akoto, already has a goal to his name. For Suelo, so Ama, they're building up really slowly, but they can go quickly when they want to. Here's Casemiro, no offside called. The Brazilian waits for support. Here's Hiraishi. Hiraishi goes for the cross. Open goal at the moment. Olibias now. Casemiro, time and space once again. And it's Gustavo who really looks injured but is playing on. Here's Bias. Still Bias. Is he clipped? He is, and that's going to be, I believe, a free kick just outside the box. But if you're Valenzuela PB Mendiola, it's going from bad to worse at the moment.
And depending on who takes that free kick, they'd have to consider the wall that they're going to put up.
There was the free kick. Olibias with quick feet. Definitely great close control from Olibias. It's going to be a free kick for Juan Taguig right at the edge of the D. There are a lot of players standing over the ball. Casemiro, Agiemang, now Hartman, all having the conversation as to who should take it. From this angle, it looks like it's going to be the Brazilian Casemiro. Hartman also having a conversation. It's going to be Casemiro. Played short, combination. The wall does its job. And Valenzuela PB Mendiola momentarily escaped the pressure.
And this is an opportunity for Valenzuela PB Mendiola, a pressing trigger, a miscontrol from the center back. Could have been a wonderful counter for Valenzuela. But it is that support up top that changed the whole story. And now it's back to the men in blue going for that attack. Straight to Etheridge.
Casemiro went unchallenged there. And the shot was on because no one was even close to him. Again, it's becoming an all too common trend that the most dangerous players of Juan Taguig are being left unchallenged, and that's a poor pass. Here's Sooma. Gustavo with the challenge. Again, Juan Taguig, they just look like they're in cruise control at the moment. They don't look panicked when they keep the ball, and even when they don't have the ball.
And that's a lot of pressure for Gustavo da Silva, given that he was down just a few minutes ago, but time after time, he's still the first person to challenge the Juan Taguig forwards and even stopping their plays too. Of course, props to him But if the team really want to help their center back, they have to create those chances at least.
Yeah, Gustavo, the Brazilian center back, very well traveled across the world, has played in Brazil, Thailand, Brunei. I believe he's even played in Malta, and he's now here in the PFL. But he's gonna need, as you mentioned, he's gonna need more help than what he's currently getting. Doctora, severely outnumbered. Hartman finding Agiemang, who finds Aldeguer. Once again returns it to Agiemang, went for the shot, he was blocked by Johan Fofana, but I think the problem for Valenzuela PB Mendiola is that when they do win back the ball, it stays in that specific part, and Taguig are set once again to win it back.
Yes, and in attacking, what you want is to disorient those defenders, and the first thing to do that, to be able to do that, is really movement and maximizing your space. Something that Taguig has done and Valenzuela are yet to do consistently.
Hartman clip ball to Casemiro. Good first touch. Casemiro just outran it, and it gave Fofana a chance to make the tackle.
Gustavo again giving that security for Valenzuela.
Would be a bit concerned if Casemiro, or if Gustavo rather, is actually playing with an injury and he's having to do all the hard work defensively.
It does reflect the kind of trust the coaches and the team have on Gustavo. Even with that injury, still keeping him there in the middle.
There's a chance there for Aoki from left back, who found that loose ball, and he hit that volley really well actually, but it was straight to Etheridge. At the moment though, I think the problem for Valenzuela PB Mendiola, they're playing with a back five, but their wing backs are just so advanced. And because they're so advanced, they're leaving space in behind. Like here's Hartman down the wing, finds Hiraishi. Oh, it's a really loose ball. Agiemang, goalkeeper in no man's land.
Such a dangerous situation. The keeper out. Last man is their defense.
Hiraishi with the open goal, and the goalkeeper nowhere near his goal line. So any shot on target would have found the back of the net, and there you have it. It's now 5-0 right before halftime. Hiraishi's second goal. It must be said that defending in this scenario from Valenzuela PB Mendiola, a lot of it was poor defending, because you see a lot of players not moving, and that's the last thing you need in your own penalty box.
And when you're a defender, two things are what you have to consider. First is when to stop and when to challenge. And when they're inside that penalty area, it's a no-brainer. You have to approach, you have to give them that challenge. But what happened back there was he did stay, which inevitably gave Hiraishi that space, making it 5-0.
Hiraishi now with 2 goals on this game, on a hat-trick. Same with Aldeguer. Definitely making a strong case for man of the match. Here is Aldeguer once again behind the wing back, and the wing back is actually Isaac Ano, who usually plays as a striker. Definitely a role that's unfamiliar to him. I don't think it's helping at the moment. Akoto. Taguig chasing a 6th before the halftime interval. Good footwork from Casemiro. Again, I think we keep bringing it up, but a lot of the defensive positioning from Mendiola, it's stationary, because a lot of the players are currently flat-footed when you have to be on your toes. That's a lesson taught to you when you're young. Here's Agiemang. Shot. Went for the power instead of placement, and it goes wide for a goal kick, but that was so easy for Isaac Agiemang to make that run, stay on side, and get the shot. Very concerning if you're from the other team.
Pero tama ka nga, Diego. With what you've mentioned a while ago, Valenzuela, they do have a 5-back, but it is easily cured by the positioning of the back line of one Taguig by making their wingbacks fly on the flanks. They have that numerical superiority in which gives them that advantage when making those crosses, when going inside that box.
Oh, here's Aldeguer once again on a hat trick. Crowded out. So his hat trick will have to wait should he score another goal. Again, there were an additional 3 minutes. And at the moment, I think if you're Valenzuela, PB Mendiola, all you want to do is get to halftime and regroup from there because the first half has been an onslaught from one Taguig. Here's Ano. Still Ano. And still, in the end, he was challenged by Valenzuela, but he went unchallenged there.
He just powered through all of those defenders, which did work for a few seconds. But looking towards the side, he had a teammate who was free. And that's something that they can learn from one Taguig, is looking towards the wide players. And just seeing which of your teammates just has that better position.
Hartman looking for Casemiro. Here's Etheridge, who has conceded 5 goals, but he made a lot of saves when it was still scoreless.
That's true. The score line right now is not a testament towards Etheridge's performance. He really did step up, and without Etheridge, it would have been a completely different score.
Casemiro. Agiemang just didn't catch it cleanly and it went out for a goal kick, but the goal kick will not be taken because it's halftime here in match number 36 of the PFL. Currently 5-0 in favor of one Taguig. Definitely a one Taguig performance that has warranted the scoreline. And from Valenzuela, PB Mendiola, it's been really discouraging, to put it bluntly. Goals from Akoto, 2 from Hiraishi and Aldeguer. What are your thoughts been on the first half?
Well, for one Taguig, they've excellently distributed the ball and used up the width of the field. And because they did open up, it led to the conversion and getting those shots, actually. While for Valenzuela, PB Mendiola, they are capable of getting those attacks, but it's really about going back to the basics and prioritizing your defense at first before anything else.
There you have it. That was the summary of the first half. We'll be back shortly for the second half of one Taguig FC and Valenzuela, PB Mendiola. That was very heavily sided for one Taguig FC over Valenzuela, PB Mendiola. They go into the second half with a 5-0 advantage. 2 goals each from Hiraishi and Aldeguer, and then 1 from Akoto. Again, I'm your commentator, Diego Javier Cordero, and alongside me is Alex Lagman for this match. Alex, it was a very, very encouraging half for one Taguig, but it's what you'd expect from with that. But I think we expected more action from the side of Valenzuela, PB Mendiola, as we see the numerous chances that they conceded in the first half.
And you'd have to give it to one Taguig, a beautiful cross, very direct towards their forward, and a clinical finish, those headers, that tap in, which led to 5-0 after that first half.
Hiraishi getting a lot of space in the opposition penalty area. So was Aldeguer. He was his second goal of the match, given a lot of room to take that shot, and from that distance he's not going to miss. Good work overall from the front line of one Taguig. They've been fluid and they found their shooting boots today. Valenzuela, PB Mendiola, on the other hand, when they've not had the ball defensively, they've been a bit loose, and when they have had the ball, they haven't been all that neat with it, and they've given it away numerous occasions. Here was Akoto's goal, perfect cross from Mark Hartman, and it's been like this for the rest of the first half.
There goes that signature cross from Hartman. And a beautiful header. First to the ball, no challenge at all. And no sweat from Taguig.
For that first half, it did look like Taguig were just cruising the whole time. Here's another chance for Casemiro. This one was saved. Etheridge, despite the fact that he's conceded 5 goals, has made a lot of saves. Here are the halftime stats, and they tell you the story. 65% possession for Taguig, but it's 20 shots to 0, and 12 of those have been on target. 0 from Valenzuela, PB Mendiola.
Yes, and in that first half, we can really see that when it comes to possession, Taguig was in control. At sumusunod lang ang Valenzuela, PB Mendiola. As soon as they do get the ball, they clear it, and it goes straight to Taguig again. And there are times where they are able to bring it towards their attacking third, but it's really that conversion and looking for other teammates up top that eliminated those chances, making it the shots and the shots on target to a 0.
Moments away now from the second half. Looks like there's going to be no changes from either side. Does that surprise you actually a little bit from the side of Valenzuela, PB Mendiola, that there aren't going to be any substitutes? Actually, just saying that it looks like they are preparing coming out of the technical area now. So it's not surprising that they're going to make a change, no?
Yes, and coming into the second half, the 2 top things that you want if you're Valenzuela, PB Mendiola, first is damage control and someone who can bring in the attack. Just a while ago, we were talking about how advantageous it is for someone to be a winger because they can both attack and defend, especially if they're put in wing back. Malaking natutulog nila defensively. And as we were talking, it would really be an advantage for Valenzuela if they put Takardon in. And given his track record, he has a lot of assists with Doctora inside the penalty area. And it really can provide those changes.
Just as we were talking about it, he is going to be 1 out of 3 substitutions. So it's going to be Takardon, Taeyang Choi, and Fayol to hopefully bring a little bit more life into this team in the second half, because at the moment it was a lifeless performance from that first half. Let's see also if there's a formation change involved, because while they did have a 5 at the back system in that first half, it was punctured multiple times by Taguig. So let's see if there's going to be any switches and tweaks that could maybe help them in this second half. For Taguig naman, it's going to be completely unchanged, and that's not a surprise given the way they performed in the first half.
Well, if your system is working, what's there to change about it? But even given the weather, it is not as sunny as it was in the first half. But you also have to consider your team, because coming into the second half, they can be fatigued, and you'll have to take into account their next few games going against teams who are a bit more on top when it comes to the standings.
Pressure from Gig.
Very on brand for the game. Coach Scott Joseph, who did mention that they want to pay respect toward Valenzuela, which is why we can see the high pressure is on.
Chance early on for Sooman. It was a really good save from Jackson Etheridge. Just 40 seconds into the second half. Again, combinations at the front line for Taguig paying off. But that was a really good save by Etheridge. Now they have to focus because it's going to be another set piece from Mark Hartman, and these are usually really dangerous, right on the money. It's going to be an in-swinger from Mark Hartman. Has a lot of tall targets to aim at. Ball is sent in straight to Etheridge. He punches it And it's eventually cleared by Valenzuela PB. Can they launch a counterattack? They have some numbers going forward. Fayol wins the foul, and Valenzuela PB Mendiola escape that set piece.
It was cleared away by one Taguig, but it is an optimistic sight to see for Valenzuela because they do see themselves in one Taguig's half.
Unfortunately for Valenzuela PB Mendiola, they couldn't take advantage of that throw-in, and it's now back to one Taguig. I think for Valenzuela PB Mendiola, in the second half, what you're going to want to see more of is Doctora getting involved and being less isolated. Oh, Ano! Heavy pressure on Kupic. That's not a foul. And he nearly stole the ball back from the goalkeeper. That was dangerous from Kupic. His clean sheet nearly going away there.
But right now in the second half, a change of scenery. Somehow the forwards of Valenzuela are kind of giving Kupic a harder time.
Here's Casemiro though on the other side. Casemiro to Aldeguer. Still Aldeguer. So Oma, oh, he skies it from close range. Unselfish from Aldeguer, but the midfielder couldn't get his finish right. That was another warning sign for Valenzuela PB Mendiola that they're still giving a little bit too much space to their opposite attackers. Again, do stay tuned for the rest of today because we have two more matches. Later on at 5:45, we have a big one. It's going to be Maharlika versus Cebu. And then to end the night at 8:30, we have Stallion Laguna FC versus Aguilas, another big game. Oh, Ayoki, really good run from left back. And I think if you're one Taguig, you'll also be really happy with the fact that the scoreline is really heavily in your favor and you haven't had to play Sato and Reichelt, who are not in the squad today. They've been given the rest by the coaching staff, so they're going to be fresh in their next match.
Bit of miscommunication there, perhaps wanting to give it to the winger, but it goes straight to one Taguig's midfield.
Looks like Doctora, who was a bit isolated in that first half, is going to have a partner now in Isaac Ano. Ano in that first half looked like he was playing as a defender at some points. So it looks like there's going to be a slight tweak from the coaching staff of Valenzuela PB Mendiola. Again, Doctora is a player you want to get service to and you want to give him chances because he usually takes them. Hartman looking for Casemiro. Sweeper keeper action from Etheridge. But as I was saying that, Valenzuela PB Mendiola also have to be a bit careful because if they pour bodies forward, that also means they're going to leave even more space in behind.
That's true, and I think that's why they put in Takardon, someone who is not afraid to track back. And now the ball is with Isaac Ano. And something that we've seen from him in the first half is how much he powers through towards the back line of one Taguig. Now that he is put on top with Doctora, that's something that we do expect to see from him rather.
Oh, Casemiro nearly on the end of that pass from Agyemang, just a bit in front of him. And it goes straight to Etheridge. As we were talking about it, Isaac Ano, definitely a powerful runner. Giveaway though, here's Casemiro, straight to Etheridge. It's gonna fall to Agyemang. First time cross, doesn't find the teammate. And somehow Valenzuela PB Mendiola escape. That was a really poor giveaway though, in a dangerous area. And more of those, you're gonna concede more chances if you're Valenzuela PB.
And when you're an attacker, you should really capitalize on those pressing triggers habang hindi pa nakaporma ang one Taguig. Dapat pinipilit na, or they just really bank on those attacks, those positive passes.
Aoki with the cross, looking for Agyemang. Falls to Aldeguer. Here's Bias. Hartman. Pass straight to Casemiro. It pinballs around the penalty area, and it's now with Fayol. Oh, good turn from Fayol. Definitely some fresh legs from Valenzuela, PB Mendiola, but he just overran it a little bit. Has to release the ball and does eventually. But it's definitely good to see that there's a little bit more energy from Fayol compared to the midfield in the first half. Giveaway though from Fofana, and the attack is going to fizzle out from Valenzuela, PB. Hartman. Unchallenged. Bias. Aldeguer. Here's Hartman. Fakes it. Just keeps the ball so easily. Pass into Agyemang. Here's Aldeguer for the hat-trick. Goes for the cross. Casemiro. And from that distance, you would have imagined that the ball would have ended up at the back of the net, but it went wide. Aldeguer, who was on a hat-trick, by the way, unselfish. But maybe he would have been better off taking the chance for himself, because the shot from Aldeguer, or from Casemiro rather, was wide. But again, really easy for One Taguig just to carve those chances open.
And another gift from One Taguig. A lot of their attempts could have easily been towards the back of the net, but somehow it sails towards the side.
Here's Hiraishi. A lot of space again down the flank. So Oma looking for Agyemang. It's blocked by Johan Fofana and out for a corner kick. Again, corner kicks and set pieces. Still really dangerous if you're One Taguig, because they get a lot of goals from that avenue. And they've really bolstered their goal difference here today. Again, goal difference could be a tiebreaker later on in the season if it's necessary. That's why a lot of the big teams want to get as much goals as possible. Here's Hartman with the in-swinger against the sunlight. It's met by Gustavo. Can Valenzuela, PB Mendiola launch a counter? Looking for Doctora. And So Oma got back really well. And Bias really calm under pressure. And that attack was a chance for Mendiola, but they couldn't take it. No offside here. It's offside actually. The flag does go up, and that's not going to be a goal.
Hartman really having an eye for those diagonals.
There's actually some commotion going on here between Casemiro and Fofana. What about? I'm not too sure, because it was offside. So nothing would have counted. But you did mention it, Alex. Hartman, definitely a player with a really high quality of passing range. Oh, there's going to be a yellow card here to Casemiro. I don't really know what it was for. Perhaps dissent. But that is the game's first yellow card, and it comes in the 54th minute. La Paz. Again, high pressure from One Taguig. And it just forces Valenzuela, PB Mendiola backwards. And it's another giveaway. Not for the first time already. Here's Hartman to Hiraishi. Cleared by Fofana. But again, Alex, those giveaways are becoming a little bit too common if you're Valenzuela, PB.
And in assessing the space, walang tao dun sa gilid, but Etheridge decided to give it towards the middle. Could have been a better decision there. But still, they've managed to give it back towards their forwards. But now, a counter-attack. Not that much pressure from Hiraishi just yet.
Here's Casemiro through on goal. And still, he can't find his goal. But the referee has blown a whistle. The referee has blown a whistle, if I heard that correctly. Casemiro couldn't make that finish. Need to see a replay to see what happened. No pressure on Hiraishi, as you mentioned. The pass from Agyemang to Casemiro. Casemiro with the touch, and he takes the shot. It goes wide. So I'm wondering what the whistle from the referee was for. Casemiro has actually stayed down, which is not a promising sign. He has been one of their better players this season. Got the man of the match and the lone goal against Maharlika.
Casemiro did set that shot up towards his right foot. But given if he did choose to go for his left, I do say that there's a bit more angle to hit it towards the bottom right of the goal. And after that commotion, right now it is an opportunity again for one Taguig with the set piece. Again, a familiar sight with Harmon taking that corner.
Hartman going short this time to Aoki. Gives it back to Hartman. First time delivery. It's going to find Akoto. Nearly finding Akoto rather, but it was flicked behind for a corner kick by Johan Fofana. Pressure is going to remain though from one Taguig.
Improvements from Valenzuela, PB Mendiola. Because back in the first half, when it comes to those set pieces, first to the ball, usually would be from one Taguig. But right now, these past corners, first to the ball was Valenzuela.
Corner sent in from Hartman, a bit low, so it doesn't find any teammate. If you're Valenzuela, PB Mendiola, can you launch a counterattack here? Forzuelo getting back to stop that attack. If you're Valenzuela, PB Mendiola, a small, really small silver lining would be that in the second half, it's 0-0. Obviously, everything happened in the first half, but at least they haven't conceded yet in this second half. It is a little bit of damage control, but that's what they need at the moment because such was the first half that they kept conceding chance after chance. Here's Hiraishi though, with space, goes for the cross, looking for Casemiro. Is this his goal? He finally gets his goal. 6-0 to 1 Taguig FC. And this time it's the Brazilian who scored last week against Maharlika. He gets another goal this week against Valenzuela, PB Mendiola. And that was a little bit too easy if you're from Mendiola. But that was a good cross from Hiraishi.
After 3 chances, he finally, with not that much pressure, gets that ball towards the back of the net with a simple hit with his header.
Yeah, and Etheridge from that distance, nothing he can really do about that because it was a really easy finish from Casemiro, and he continues his goal scoring form, which is what you want if you're one Taguig going into the rest of the season. And that makes it 6. So as I was saying that in the second half it was scoreless, one Taguig make it 1-0 in the second half and 6-0 in the game overall.
And given that situation, 2 Valenzuela defenders were in front of Casemiro. If one of them checked Casemiro, could have been another story. But right now, we see Valenzuela trying to get back and make those attacks.
Here's Agyemang in behind. Those long strides, really pacey. Agyemang up against Gustavo. Agyemang goes for the cross. Couldn't find a teammate, but it eventually falls to Hiraishi. The chance is still alive for one Taguig. Here's Sooma. Goes for the shot. Saved by Etheridge, but it's spilled to Casemiro. Ankle too tight though. Casemiro goes backwards to Hiraishi. Hiraishi finds Aldeguer. And the pass looking for Casemiro was just a little bit mishit, so the chance eventually fizzles out. Again, Aldeguer and Hiraishi rather, both on a hat-trick. So they'll definitely want to chase that for the rest of the match. But we're going to have 3 substitutes before that. It's going to be Hamed. One of those is Hamed, the other is Yusuf, and the last one is Ryan Lim. So that's a triple change from Coach Scott Cooper. Again, squad rotation, definitely an important factor over the course of a long season. And it gives a chance also to players who don't usually play to express themselves and make a statement on why they should actually be playing in the starting 11.
Another substitution for one again. Player number 22, Ichiro, replaced by player number 31, Ryan Dale. And player number 71, Isaac Gilman, replaced by player number 10, Ahmed Hachimladi.
As a player coming off the bench, you won't get the full game, obviously, but it is a chance for yourself to maybe make a statement.
Definitely, and that's something that we are to see from both teams. Of course, from Valenzuela, as soon as that second half started, and the substitutes just now after replacing the most recent goal scorer, Casemiro.
Here's Hamed, first touch. Playing against his former club, actually, is Hamed Hajemedi. Here's Aldeguer. Hamed couldn't get it back to Aldeguer. Pressure stays on though from Taguig. And it's gonna go stay with Mendiola, but the pressure is really intense from Taguig. And eventually, possession does get surrendered back to Taguig. I'm actually very excited also to see the likes of Ryan Lim because he is a really talented youngster from the Ateneo football program, also played in the youth national team before, and he's now with Taguig. Definitely a chance for him to express himself rather, in the last 30 minutes of this game or so. Here's Fayol. Ano. Looking for Fayol, but that pass is overhit. And that's a goal kick. Fayol wanted a corner, but he's the only one protesting it. And the referee is not going to listen to that protest. Kiraishi. Looking for Aldeguer, but the pass just slightly too low. Oh, but it's another giveaway. And again, that's been too common in the second half. In this game overall. Again, if you're Valenzuela, PB Mendiola, it is going to be a daunting task because after this match, you have to play against Aguilas and Cebu right after each other. Definitely a tough run of games. So you do wonder where their next win, if it comes, will come from. Here's Yusuf. Looking for Hiraishi. It's blocked by Fofana.
Valenzuela right now prioritizing should be the damage control, hopefully keeping Taguig at 6-0. Lots of clogging towards the middle.
Here's Fayol. Doctora. Takardon, chance to finally run at his defender.
Finally, some combination plays up top. Tries to connect. A bit too strong. Medyo nakaposition na din ang keeper and the backline of Taguig. As you can see, when the ball goes towards the attacking third of Taguig, there's a huge gap.
Hamed! Straight at Etheridge, but Hamed nearly getting a goal against his former club. It was a good height for Etheridge to make that save. But again, that was a little bit too easy to find a player of Hamed's quality. Usually, a player who's that talented should be tightly marked. But he had, as we see in the replay, he had a lot of space to take that shot. And if you're gonna afford those type of shots to players like Hamed, you will get punished if you're Valenzuela, PB Mendiola. Hartman will take the succeeding corner. Sent in, it meets Gustavo. Ball still in the box. Eventually work clear, but again, Gustavo, despite the scoreline, having to do a lot of the dirty work for his team. We're actually going to see a goalkeeping change also in a moment. Henry Bendek and Fong is going to come in for Milos Kupic. Lim, Hamed, leaves it for Aldeguer. On a hat-trick, Aldeguer! Good save by Etheridge. Out for a corner kick, Aldeguer chasing that hat-trick.
Substitution for one Taguig FC. Player number 1, Milos Kupic, replaced by player number 3, Henry Aldeguer.
Not too sure if a goalkeeper doesn't finish a match, that if it still counts as a clean sheet. But Kupic will say that that is his 4th clean sheet of the season, and he'll be really happy with the fact that to his name, he has not conceded a goal in this match. Hartman with the cross, met by Akoto. 2nd goal for Akoto in this match. It's the same combination from his 1st goal. Hartman set piece, and the center back makes no mistake from that range, and it's now 7-0. And once again, from a set piece, the first contact was a One Taguig player.
Let's take a look at that. Hartman, great height towards that 2nd post. Tumulan din ang depensa ng Valenzuela, but it's not towards the body position of his attacker.
That goal is also going to signal our 3rd water break of this match. Again, it is really humid at the moment, so do stay hydrated because it is really hot, but also do stay safe from the incoming typhoons. Actually, the clouds in the Rizal Memorial Stadium starting to darken a little bit, as we do know there is a typhoon incoming, so do stay safe from that. But it has been raining goals so far in this match from One Taguig. Again, we do want to remind everyone also that November will be a really busy month for football in the Philippines, not just from the PFL. We also have the international break coming up. And of course, we also have the upcoming FIFA Women's Futsal World Cup being hosted right here at Pasig. All the games will be at Ultra, and I'll definitely be there. Will you, Alex?
Yes, of course. That's something that we all are really looking forward to. So we do invite all of you to drop by.
Definitely going to be exciting that we're going to host the best teams in the world for futsal. We're going to be playing up against them. Definitely a daunting task, but also a very exciting proposition for our futsal team. I believe also, other than futsal and international football window, we also have UAP football going on at the same time as the PFL, and of course we also have, well, it's been postponed to a later date, but we also have the Women's Cup going on, the PFF Women's Cup, all the games happening in MOA. So a lot of football for Philippine football fans to enjoy around Manila.
As you've mentioned, the UAAP, when it comes to men's, Tacardon's brother, actually Flor Tacardon, scoring the winning goal against Ateneo, the Battle of Katipunan. Something that probably was discussed in the family dinner, and hopefully Don can perform a consolation goal, hopefully, in this game.
Yeah, Francis Tacardon, a graduate of the UP football program, like yourself, of course. And yeah, Francis Tacardon now making waves in the PFL. I believe in the season 85 or season 86 final, rather, I'm not too sure which, he actually got the man of the match award by scoring the penalty in the final against FEU. Here is Sooma Aldeguer for his hat-trick. Oh, it's just over. His hat-trick will have to wait. I think he just went with too much power. Maybe placement would have been the way to go. But again, the trend is continuing. It's all too easy for One Taguig to carve open Valenzuela, PB, Mendiola. But it was actually through a Mendiola giveaway. So they're not helping themselves when they have the ball.
This is true. A familiar sight with Casemiro. He had 3 chances before he finally put that shot towards the back of the net. A pretty familiar sight is happening for Aldeguer right now. Kanina, bago ang water break, nagkaroon siya ng attempt, and now after, he has another one. It is possible that he can continue making those attempts for himself, depending on the adjustments of Valenzuela's backline.
Here's Doctora for a chance, maybe. Balot Doctora in the opposition penalty box. Ano! And it's gonna go just wide. That was a chance for Valenzuela PB Mendiola to make the scoreline just slightly more respectable. And no surprise, it was through Balot Doctora and Francis Tacardon.
They've been having trouble towards that pass because of the heaviness of the weight, but when it comes to this, they were able to connect up top, but it is that finishing.
Just lacking that clinical edge in the final third. It was Balot Doctora combining with Ano, and that all came from play from Tacardon in the near side. Just an interesting piece of trivia actually, following some research, that Doctora's next goal in the PFL will be his 30th in the top flight of Philippine football. So that's across his career in Stallion and now Valenzuela PB Mendiola. Good switch from Hartman. Here's Lim. Chance to get involved. He's gonna go for the pass back to Hiraishi. Hartman, no one near him. Aldeguer. Still Aldeguer went with his left foot straight into Gustavo. This is gonna go to Lim, who's onside. Chops inside, goes down. Referee not having any of it. Hamed. Gustavo. Again, the high press from Taguig, suffocating their opponents, and they win back the ball once again. He is a really talented player, so he's definitely a prospect to keep your eye on for the future.
Etheridge looking to connect with that direct. But with that first ball goes straight to the men in blue.
So Oma, Hamed, back to Lim.
This is also a pretty familiar sight with Valenzuela. When the ball negatively transitions, there's such a gap between the forwards and the defense.
Yes, and of course those gaps can be lethal when you're up against midfielders like Hartman and Oma and Hamed, because they just expose those gaps, more so because of their quality as well. Hartman, Pias, pass, just couldn't find its target. But this is what's good about Taguig, is that when they lose the ball directly, they get back in numbers.
They do very disciplined in their defending. And I also appreciate the way Taguig doubles down on one person kahit hindi pa sila nasa babang-baba ng half.
Yeah, it's very relentless stuff from Taguig. Here's Aldeguer, crossing position. Goes back to Soama. He's unchallenged. Cuts inside, goes for the shot. Flies over. But again, when you're gonna be unchallenged like that, you might as well take the shot from wherever you are. As we see 2 substitutions readying up for Valenzuela PB Mendiola. It's going to be the end of the day for Gustavo, the central center back of Valenzuela PB Mendiola. He has conceded 7 goals, but he has had to to do a lot of defensive work for his team, maybe more so than he would have liked to do. And it's also going to be the end of the day for, I believe it's going to be Fofana walking to the touchline. So maybe a chance for the bench players to make a statement for Valenzuela PB.
Substitution for Valenzuela.
It's always such an added pressure when you're replacing the back line, the anchor of the team. And with the performance of Gustavo and Fofana, the way that they've put a stop towards the play of one Taguig, that's a lot of shoes to fill for the substitutes of Valenzuela. Another factor in being subbed in is makakasabay ka ba sa play or sa momentum, or would you need some time to warm up? So that's an added extra layer for them. But so far, as we can see, they were able to clear that ball. But it's those off-the-ball movements of these one Taguig players that they'd have to watch out for.
Hamed! Oh, it's over. The volley from Hamed. There was no goalkeeper on the goal line because Etheridge had come out to punch, but the shot was off target. Let off there for Etheridge that he hasn't conceded his 8th goal. Chance for Valenzuela BB to go the other way. Here's Fayol.
It's a foot race right now, but cleared away by one Taguig.
You can see that they really want that clean sheet because it would give them another boost in that stat regard. Fayol. Chance for a cross. The cross was played, but it was slightly weak and straight to Bendek and Fong, who goes quick. So one Taguig, you're going to start another transition here. Yusuf ran straight into traffic. Here's Lim. Eventually, Hartman is going to slow things down.
And again, that gap, no challenge towards Hartman. Easily collected, distributed towards the flanks.
Hartman combining with Bias. Takardon is going to work it clear, but only as far as Hamed.
3 Taguig players there, overpowered.
Yeah, and it's a different story when Valenzuela, PB Mendiola have to do their own defensive work because, oh, there's a stomp there on Fayol. Could actually hear it from here. But as I was saying, when Valenzuela, PB Mendiola have to defend, it's always one-on-one if there's even a defender there. But when it's one Taguig, you mentioned it earlier, it's always 2-on-1 or 3-on-1. They just hound their oppositions better than Valenzuela, PB Mendiola. Again, Valenzuela, PB Mendiola are 10th in the PFL table, and they're going to stay there on only 3 points. The only team under them is Philippine Army, and Philippine Army actually lost to Valenzuela, PB Mendiola. That's the only reason why they are slightly below on 0 points. For Valenzuela, PB Mendiola, how do they get out of this rut that they're currently in? Because today was maybe a chance to show a little bit of a better version of themselves, but they haven't shown it as well as they would have wanted. So how do they move forward with this? Again, there's 2 weeks off, international break. What can they do in those 2 weeks?
Well, as I've mentioned during the first few minutes in that first half, it's covering the basics of defending, learning how to challenge, to get that first ball, and getting towards positions where they eliminate the angles of their attackers.
Hamed with the switch out wide to Lim. Lim has Hiraishi making the underlap. He's going to use him. Hiraishi keeps it in, goes back to Lim. There's a crossing opportunity for Lim. In no rush though. Hartman to Yusuf. Looking for the return pass to Hartman, but couldn't read it. Here's Fayol. Looking for an attacker, but it's straight to Valenzuela, and I think that's just been the story of Mendiola's afternoon.
That's right. And his teammates, even Doktora, napakamot ang ulo, he was wide open towards the sides. He had all that space, a thrown away opportunity.
Here's Lim, goes back to Hartman. Hartman with the cross, overhit, and it's gonna fall to Takardon. But there you have it, the pressure is intense the moment they lose the ball, and I think that's the reason why they just can't find passes forward. Here's Bias. So Oma, Aldeguer, very tight in there. Yusuf goes for the cross, nearly finding Oma. He's gonna find Lim at the far post. Hamed, maybe one pass too many in that play. So it's Fayol, Doktora. Can they maybe snatch a consolation goal in the dying moments of this match? Still Doktora, Fayol.
With that vision, he can make that diagonal, but given that challenge from one Taguig, closing the gap towards that vision.
It's going to be the end of the afternoon for Andres Aldeguer, so we're not going to see a hat trick from him, but it was a really good afternoon nevertheless. 2 goals. What have you thought about his performance so far?
He timed it perfectly and he was at the right place at the right time. Yung header niya na nanggaling sa cross, well-deserved.
Definitely a strong case for man of the match. Would not be he is given that award. Although I actually want to mention it now, there is some criteria for man of the match from Matchcom that players actually have to stay on the pitch for a certain amount of time. So I do wonder if he is meeting that criteria currently. But definitely a strong case nonetheless because of the 2 goals. Chance maybe here. Offside is called against Mendiola. That would have been a good opportunity if the run was timed slightly better.
Given Aldeguer, it's also not just the case of his shots, but his unselfish decisions up top when he would give it to his fellow forwards, because they do have a better angle during those situations.
Bias definitely want a goal for himself. Bias might get that goal, and it's 8-0 to 1 Taguig FC. Brilliant combination there from Bias and the substitute in Yusuf to make it 8. Bias with his weaker left foot, no problem for him because he finds the opposite corner. That was a really good goal from 1 Taguig.
Bias, who assisted in one of those first few goals with an assist, now making a goal for 1 Taguig, making it 8-0.
And if Bias is not substituted off, he is going to remain the player with the most minutes across the 1 Taguig team. And that's how vital he is to the 1 Taguig side. So Oma. Hiraishi. Back to Sooma. Yusuf, Hamed. Looked for the return pass to Sooma but couldn't find it. Here's Takardon. There you have it. The pressure is relentless. Even in the 85th minute from 1 Taguig. That even though they're 8-0 up and that they're in the opposite side of the pitch, they want to win back the ball as quickly as possible. Do you give that to coaching or do you give the players credit for that, Alex?
I would say both. Of course, the system won't be implemented unless introduced by Coach Scott Cooper. And kudos to the players for implementing that throughout the whole entire game. I think it is also a factor that they have possession of the ball, which kind of contributes to their fatigue levels. Because as we all know, when you are defending, you are more tired because you move towards the man, you move towards the ball.
Yeah, it is physically demanding to play without the ball, but it's also mentally demanding because it's really a childlike feature of football, but you want to have the ball and you want your team to have the ball. Here's Yusuf. Hiraishi, just over. That could have been 8-0 or 9-0 rather here in the 86th minute.
So Aldeguer, he was not able to get that hat trick, but chances are still there for Hiraishi, scoring the second and fifth goal.
He is for sure chasing that third goal. Not sure if it's a practice in the PFL, but in other leagues, when you score a hat trick, you actually get to take home the match ball. Not too sure if it's adopted here, but nevertheless, it would be a good afternoon for Hiraishi and a better one if he gets his third goal. Good challenge from Takardon. It's added a little bit of energy since coming on.
Valenzuela trying to look for a teammate. Could have been an opportunity to advance, but given the openings, he was forced to make that negative pass.
Custodio keeps it in play. And Custodio, another former UAAP player, played with Lasal. Oh, good roulette from Hartman. Again, Hartman showing why he's the captain for this team. Provided a lot of chances to his players. Here's Lim. Lim, will he get his goal? He does! 9-0. And we were talking about how talented he was. There was a flash of that ridiculous talent from the substitute. Too much power for Etheridge to deal with. And it's now 9-0 in favor of one Taguig FC. Alex, take us through this goal.
A beautiful pass towards the flanks. He's there in the middle and makes that fake. Gives the illusion that he was going towards the middle, cuts it towards outside and makes that shot. Very simple, but very effective as well. Ryan Lim, a substitute, making the 9th goal for one Taguig.
And I think Coach Scott Cooper will be especially happy to see that his substitutes have played like it was still 0-0, and they've kept that intensity up, and that's why the scoreline reflects in the manner that it does. And it was a really good finish also from Lim. Just finds the space and lashes it into the roof of the net. No chance for Etheridge, who has had to pick the ball out of his net 9 times now.
Surely, and it does show that their strategy of transferring Lim towards that right side does work. Kasi dun sa kaliwa, medyo na tatabunan pa siya ng mga Valenzuela players.
Still time for a 10th. 2 minutes plus or 1 minute now, just and whatever amount is added on for stoppage time. Here's Bias on the left once again. Still Bias. Here's Hamed. Here's Lim. Can he work out the cross? Hartman. Still Hartman. Cross towards Yusuf, overhit, but it's gonna fall to Hiraishi. They're just keeping it so simply in the penalty area. Hiraishi, Hamed. Hiraishi, Yusuf. Too much traffic at the end. But one thing, it looks like almost they're having fun at this point.
Now we're in these last few minutes of the half. Valenzuela can only hope to keep the scoreline at a single digit. With their player down, they can't afford any more injuries, and a player of theirs not feeling well for those defensive plays.
3 minutes until the end of this match. One Taguig will go level on points with Kaya FC Iloilo at the top of the table. Kaya FC not playing this weekend because of their international duty in midweek, but One Taguig have caught up. And they might score again here. Here's Yusuf. Hamed against his former club. Is this his goal? Unselfish to Sooma, and it goes just wide. Well, it's 9-0, but there were so many chances. Could have been a lot more.
It really is those sneaky passes that created those chances for them. But with those clinical finishes, yun na lang yung kulang para mas madagdagan sana yung scoreline ng One Taguig.
Well, nevertheless, despite the fact that they, to be honest, missed a lot of chances, they're not going to be punished by it because they took it when it mattered, and they've bolstered their goal difference. There's going to be a yellow card somewhere here for the reason I'm not too sure. It's going to be number 22 of Valenzuela PB Mendiola. That's Escosora. And finally, the goal kick will come. Just a minute and a half now until full time. Hartman expertly keeps the ball.
But this time, a challenge towards that midfield from Valenzuela. Last few minutes, their mindset should be an all-out security towards their own half.
Limbs with the cross. Header by Custodio. He was in an offside position, so nothing would have counted. Just a minute now. You do imagine that that was the last attack from One Taguig, and this goal kick, or free kick rather, is going to be the end of things. It's been the perfect afternoon from One Taguig, and for Valenzuela PB Mendiola, it's back to the drawing board. Again, we also want to plug the Minsan Football Show, which we won't have this week because there's no PFL next week, but it's every midweek before the PFL match day. So we'll have our next episode in 2 weeks. Again, that is because there's an international break coming up. Sooma, Olibias, Hamed, Custodio, the center back in an attacking position, nearly getting himself on the goal sheet. But it's straight at Etheridge, and that's the 3 minutes played. Any moment now, the full-time whistle will come from referee John Mike Basinang.
And it is pretty surprising for Etheridge to go for that short, given a few minutes, a few seconds rather, is left in this game.
Hamed.
Perhaps that center back towards the attacking third is something that Valenzuela should embody at this point.
There you have it. It is the full-time whistle from referee John Mike Basinang. 9-0 in favor of One Taguig FC. They score 9, but they also keep that clean sheet to give Kupic that boost and their defense that boost. Goals all across the whole team. So it's been the perfect afternoon for the Taguig-based team. For Valenzuela PB Mendiola, discouraging. They have 2 weeks, an international break, to go back and regroup and figure out where they can pick up their next few points. Goals from Aldeguer, 2 goals from Aldeguer rather, and then 2 goals from Hiraishi, 2 goals from Akoto, and 1 each from Bias and Casemiro. But it was a really well-rounded performance from everyone in One Taguig.
Definitely, Tiago, for One Taguig, they were able to check up all of those basic points of showing up for each other, looking for those triangles, getting those combination pieces, the timing and the positioning, the height, the weight of those balls. Truly terrific from them. And of course, with Etheridge, those attacks from One Taguig, being able to save it despite the scoreline being 9-0. Here we go, Hiraishi, and that header. Very much simple football there, just in the right place at the right time, getting that goal.
One Taguig really boasting their attacking quality. The 9 goals. Had a lot more chances even though to make it even more than just 9. In the end though, they'll be really happy with the fact that they are now in a really good position in the league table, and overall they're gonna push Kaya FC Iloilo. Anyway, that has been this match, brought to you by Diego Javier Cordero for your play-by-play and Alex Lagman for your analysis. Here are more of the highlights because there were a lot in the second half. But do stay tuned because we have 2 more matches tonight. 2 very exciting games. Alex, I believe you'll be calling one.
Yes.
So do look forward to that game. Anyway, this was your first match. One Taguig FC 9, Valenzuela PB Mendiola 0. Again, thank you for tuning in for this match number 36 of the PFL.
Congratulations on the result. What are your thoughts on the game?
Thank you. We worked hard throughout the week and we needed more goals, So I'm very happy for the win.
Okay, thank you. And what went well and what went right given the results?
Well, according to our coach, we want more goals. We need more goals. And then you could see tactically we were disciplined on the field. We play according to instructions. So that really helped the entire team. And we worked so hard today.
All right, thank you. And last question, do you have any message to the fans?
Well, we are very happy for their support. They should just keep supporting the team and then we will not let them down. We make them proud. We are happy they are here today. Thank you.
Thank you so much.